Ralph Lalama is a cornerstone of the New York jazz scene and a globally respected saxophonist celebrated for his impeccable swing, rich melodic storytelling, and profound connection to the beat. A three-time Grammy winner through his work with the Joe Lovano Nonet and the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra, his career spans decades, including stints with Woody Herman, Buddy Rich, and the Mel Lewis Orchestra. He's also played 8 years with the Carnegie Hall Jazz Orchestra. With albums as a leader, over 60 recordings as a sideman, and critical acclaim from top jazz critics, his artistry shines in both chordless trio settings and large ensembles. His freewheeling sound and deep musical knowledge resonate with audiences, students, and peers alike. So, Ralph, it's a pleasure to speak to you. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thank you, Abe. Appreciate it also. And you're
So,
embarrassing me so far.
that's the job, right? I have to put you in the state of embarrassment first.
Okay, you
So
got it.
Ralph, the way I came across your career, it's this goes back to like 2007 for me when I was a student at Berkeley, just checking out your records, and I said, when I get down to New York, one of the first groups I want to go hear is hear you play at Smalls, and I got to go hear you play with Bop Juice many times. It's a group that your name is kind of synonymous with. So, talk to me a little bit about Bop Juice and how that came to be and the concept for the group.
Well, how it came to myself and Clifford Barber, well, we used to run jam sessions, for a long time, and it was great. People loved it. A lot of the stars of today, came to these jam sessions, So and I kind of organized it. I was like the jazz police. First, we would play a set, 45 minute set. Nobody would sit in, and then we would open it up, and then the rest was a jam session. And I would have to, I was the jazz police, so to speak. And then one time, me and Clifford and I were sitting at the bar. He said, "Why don't we call our group Bop Juice?" I said, "Perfect." That's how the name came. It was Clifford's idea. And I immediately said, "Yeah, great." And at that time, we were playing like basically bass, drums, and saxophone. So that was, to me, that was an experience because you have a lot of weight on your shoulder when you don't have any chords. You know what I mean? Because you're the only thing that's happened. I'm not only on bass and drums, of course, but as far as the melody and the harmony, you're very important. So it kicked my butt, so to speak. I thought these tunes I thought I knew. I knew them, but I didn't really, it wasn't that strong as far as. So I learned a lot by playing trio. And then we just continue to go. And now I do it with an organ. Lately, it's been with Clifford and Akiko Saruga on organ, basically. And also with this guy, Ian McDonald, subs for when Akiko can't make it. So, it just grew. And as far as the name, it wasn't even about bop or modern. It was just that when Clifford said Bob Juice, it made sense. We were sitting at the bar, a lot of times on our hand, a lot of time on our hands, sorry. And, and I said, yeah, that's a great name. And then we just evolved, as a group, because we played all the time. Smalls, and we ran these jam sessions for 10 years, actually, in
Yeah.
three different places, you know.
I was so fortunate enough to go hear that group, and many times actually, and it's certainly something that's inspired, myself and countless musicians. So let's talk a little bit about your story in terms of development. We kind of have to have certain things. There are certain like almost like moments, whether they're being with a certain mentor, working with a certain player. Um, what kind of shaped your journey, like along the way, that was certainly pivotal for, you would not be the artist you are today without certain things happening.
Well, my family, for one, my brother Dave, he's an arranger. He just retired from Hofstra University. He was kind of the head of the jazz department. He's an arranger, piano player, which we worked together. And but prior to that, I'm a little older than him, so at the beginning, my grandfather gave me a clarinet. He was a clarinet alto player. My father was a drummer, my mother was a vocalist, and my brother ended up being a piano player, composer, arranger. And so, and then my father listened to jazz, and at that time, I don't want to say how old I am, but but like I was into James Brown and Temptations and stuff, and I've been playing since I was 14 years old. As far as even with a group, we had our own little group but we played those tunes. We weren't playing jazz, but I was improvising on those tunes. So I didn't know what I was doing other than using my ear and saying, that's the wrong note, that's the right note. And then I started really listening to jazz because like it was in the house, and I started digging like Sonny Stitt and, Gene Ammons and some of the organ groups. And that kind of shaped me. Then as I got older, I went to college where I was a clarinet major at Youngstown State University, and I met this guy named Tony Leonardi. He was a bass player from Syracuse, but he taught at the school and started a jazz band and the school didn't have a jazz band. It was all classical, and I was a classical clarinetist with a saxophone, on the side you know. And then I got into that band. I auditioned, got in, and then he really turned my head around. Give me Sonny Rollins records, Coltrane records, Bird. I mean, I heard of those guys, but I never, like I said, I didn't have any of those records at the time. I just listened to Gene Ammons and Sonny Stitt because my father, Stan Getz too. So basically that, and then I start, transcribing and digging it and myself and my brother, we had a band at Youngstown, and we played every second Friday, and we just played jazz. First people hated it, and then after a while it was packed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
In
so when
other
you
words,
started to improvise on the standards, you had mentioned that you were improvising on like James Brown tunes, and the music is
yeah,
certainly
right.
when you play a little,
ACO, yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's a little bit more, I guess you could diatonic, so to speak, and you
exactly.
know.
No, no, you're right.
So
Yeah.
when you started improvising on the standards, what was the process like for you, like translating into playing on changes? Was it just going through those transcriptions, or can you talk to us a little bit
That
about that?
helped. Yeah, that helped. Yeah. And then also the piano helps. I learned that later in life. The piano, that you see how the voices go, and that helps. And then, you try to develop your ear and and just keep practice. I still practice. That's what I was doing. Tonight I have to play the Vanguard. So not just because I had to play the Vanguard, I practice all the time. But I keep on it, even today. That's what I tell my students. I said, man, there's no vacation from this. When they go to school, they have a spring break or a break, Christmas. I said, well, there's no vacation from your horn. So that I just keep on practicing.
So if you,
Get it.
what's the
But,
longest you've ever gone without playing? Like can you do you have a certain number in mind? Like is it
oh
like a
yeah,
week or
well,
two?
yeah, it was kind of well, yeah. I got hurt once well, twice actually. I was we were with the band, the Vanguard band, and we were playing in New Hampshire, but we decided instead of flying because there's so much hassle with flying all the time. So let's drive. So we drove, and then we come back from the gig, and boom, somebody smashed us from the back, like 60 miles an hour, and I broke a rib. And a bunch of other stuff happened too. So I couldn't play for a month and a half, basically. And then it happened again.
Oh,
No, wait a minute. Now I just did a tour with Gary Smalley, and we did a tour in Europe, like a quintet tour, and we were the last part of the tour. It was like 3 weeks. So we were the last part of it. We're playing this church, and I'm walking down to the stage again. Churches are basically dark. So there was a step about that could you see about that much, and I didn't see it. Boom! I fell and hit my other side of the ribs, left side. And so, but check it out. I didn't break anything, but I bruised the ribs. And that took about 3 weeks off my practicing again. So that happened twice in a 2 year span, just recently.
when you go back
But
to your horn after to that after taking that time off, does it feel fresh for you? After you're like, or are you kind of like, oh, I wish I lost those 3 weeks? Like,
no, no, no. Well, physically you feel that. But after a couple of days it's gone. But I feel fresh musically. Yeah, yeah.
so you're still playing like,
Sometimes it's a good idea.
yeah, you've been playing with the Vanguard Jazz Orchestra for how long now?
Oh. I started in 1983 as a leader. I mean, as a regular. Yeah, 83.
So about 40 years.
Yeah, over 40 years. Yeah, 42.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The,
40. Yeah.
the Village Vanguard is, people would say, the most famous jazz club in the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mhm.
And you step down those stairs every week.
Yeah. Almost, I sub sometimes, but all of us sub out sometimes. But no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 40, yeah.
And they're still bringing in artists, throughout the year, and we know the
Mhm.
names. I don't have to start listing them and stuff. So the
Yeah.
bar is still here. So when you go down the steps now, do you still feel that same
Oh, yeah.
excitement you did back in the 80s? I would
I do.
imagine.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sure. When we start playing too, because music's great. We still play Thad, still play Brookmeyer, excuse me, and we play Jim McNeely stuff too. So the range and a little bit of slide, a couple of arrangements we did. We did a record with slide, for slide, played his arrangements. So we still do some of that, and so it's great music. You know, so I enjoy just listening to everybody play too. I mean, improvise.
Yeah.
Band to get playing together too.
And I think, 40 years is a long time. If you didn't want to be there, you wouldn't be there. You know what I
Oh, I
mean?
know. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. It's great. Right. Why not? You go on Monday night and play.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. And you mentioned something too, which I wanted to talk to you about, which was about there's no vacation.
Yeah.
The world is drastically changing with technology. People want things quicker now. Do you
Mm-hmm.
find that the students have changed over the years
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the advent of, technology? There are some good things about it, but,
Yeah.
it's the attention spans are shortening.
Yeah.
Are the students just as committed now, you think?
Well, no, some of them are. Some of them still they break through that, but a lot of them, yeah, you have to like remind them that they're human beings. They have a heartbeat.
So, but even in 10 years, it's probably changed, I would imagine, with the
Yeah,
students.
sure. Oh, yeah. And you're right about the attention span, but I teach at SUNY Purchase, in Purchase, New York,
Hmm.
in SUNY, and like, we're a small school, but we choose who we want, because we have to, it's not it's not Berkeley, you know, but so we're hands on, so it's good in that way because if they know that they have to work. If they
Oh,
don't
they don't
work,
let just
they,
anybody in. They don't let.
yeah,
I did not get in when I was younger, but it's okay. It worked out for the best.
yeah,
It's all our
yeah,
journey. John Abercrombie was on faculty there.
sure, John, a lot of big jurists,
Big
John,
jurist, right?
yeah, a lot of, yeah, a lot of
Did
guys.
you ever hang with John
Sure,
when you were there?
yeah, yeah, played with him a couple times too, sure, oh yeah,
What was that like? Because there's so many dichotomies of this music, and John has always been kind of a pioneer of the electric guitar and sort of adventurous. So can you talk about playing with him a little bit?
yeah. But I remember we played a couple gigs, and it was basically like we didn't play too many originals on it. I just we played basically standard, and it was different. You're right, it was like different. And for me, I just try to listen to what's going on and try to play. Rather than I'm going to play this. This is the way I play. Because that is the way I play. I try to play with people. You
Yeah.
know.
So when you listen to John solo, do you kind of like say, oh, that's interesting. Like maybe I could try to develop my line
Yeah,
into the.
over there at that moment, yes. At the moment, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to do, you know,
Yeah.
and then and I remember I thought we had fun. I thought well, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We used to hang, just in school, we talked to each other and stuff, you know, and same with Vic Juris too, he was different
Rest
than
both
John.
their souls.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly, you know. So like so there's a lot of stories there, I guess.
Ralph, I remember I was maybe about 10 years ago, I was watching a video of you on YouTube, just another interview, believe it or not. And I remember you talked about teaching the students should understand that if you're going to dedicate your life to this art form, that you will be teaching in some way or another. There's a lot of misconceptions about being a jazz musician. A lot of people go to school and they walk out of school. Oh, I'm going to have a career right now. I'm going to get signed to a label. There's a lot of mystery about this life. And there's certainly a lot of misconceptions out there among young musicians and the masses about this life. And you said it so great before, there's no vacation. Do you feel strongly about certain things that you wish more people understood, whether younger musicians trying to get into this business or even just, the general public?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the musicians find out when they get out of school and they see, that's the best, experience is the best teacher, I mean, we could say all we have to say, and, as a teacher, you say, oh, well, it's not quite, but then until they experience it, because I have a lot, to answer your question this way, I have a lot of students that I still see and sometimes even play with, rhythm section guys and even saxophone players, and so and I see them later in life, or 5 years later, 10 years later, 3 years later, they always say, the fat guy was right, meaning me. That's what I always tell them. But once they experience it, they learn and they deal. And that's what it's about. In anything. I don't care if you're a lawyer.
Yeah, you
I
can
know a
only
lot of
learn on
lawyers.
the only learn on the
Go ahead.
bandstand, right?
Huh?
You can only learn on the bandstand, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Learn on the bandstand, and and when you got to deal with owners and agents, and you just you got to be yourself for one. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And don't think that everybody's always putting you down because they don't give you the time of day, basically.
Yeah.
That's only in passing. Oh, he's yeah, right. Then that doesn't it doesn't there's no value to that. Just be yourself and practice and play and be smart business wise. Don't just think that everything's going to be handed to you because it's not.
Yeah. But be
You know,
yourself. I think that's such a valid point. So, did someone tell you that? Because it's such a interesting thing to hear some of the, most amazing players like yourself and other people I've talked to on the podcast. They always say, be you. Don't try to,
yeah, yeah.
emulate's okay, but you have, at the end of the day, you have to be
Oh,
yourself.
you emulate. That's the first step,
Yeah.
especially learning to play. You emulate first, and then
Hmm.
hopefully you get to the. I even tell myself, look, I'm the thing. Have a big thing about transcribing because, well, they say, well, I'm not going to be myself. Well, when you transcribe, you set what is a precedent for yourself because you have to compare yourself to the guys you're playing with. Not like you sit around and compare yourself, but you just when you play, you say, "Wow, my stuff isn't as strong as his stuff." So you start like, in other words, when you first start like improvising, say you suck 80% and you have 20% that you're good with. And then when you try to transcribe, it starts going like this. You know what I mean? Because you're playing somebody else's stuff, but you're learning from it. So you're gonna if you have like any talent at all, what you do, then you're gonna start getting better, and then you're gonna start tying things differently than he did or she did, whoever your heroes are.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that 80 to 20 turns up being 80-20 the other way. You know what I mean? And then if you're going to be an innovator, you will be. You know what I mean? And if you're not, you're still going to be good.
Yeah.
You're going to
Um,
function. You're going to function.
let me ask you this. And I'm 37. I've been performing this music like, let's say publicly for, I don't know, 16 years or something like that. And that's not that long.
Right.
But there's never been an A, like I give myself an A on the performance. It's always in that B plus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or
Sure.
maybe like
Yeah.
just on the cusp of like 89.8 to round up to a 90. But
Yeah.
does that change, or is that always like it's when you're a jazz musician, it's just you're never gonna feel like, I mean, or is it just you feel you want more, expect more of yourself? I'm not sure how you think about that or not.
Well, no, yeah, I do. I mean, it varies. You have good nights and bad nights too.
Right.
So I don't know if I ever gave myself an A plus, but I saw that was, I felt good that night.
Yeah.
And then I'm driving home or back in the day taking the subway home. I would say, man, why didn't I play that? Why didn't I play this? What am I? And then that's another thing about practicing. You're always behind what you're practicing and what you're playing. And I used to think I wasn't very, smart in that. Then I used to talk to some of my heroes like George Coleman, Clifford Brown, even Brecker, and there's a lot of my heroes at that time, and they said, no, it happens to all of us. You're always 4 months behind what you're practicing and what you're playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it still happens. I've been practicing stuff even longer than that, and I don't even think about it because it's not implanted yet. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
guess I am not that bright. But no, but they said that I was encouraged by that. They said, no, man, that's what it is. You're always behind. You know.
Yeah,
So
it's you have good nights
yeah,
and let's just call them good nights, but you always want to keep improving.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you mentioned these names, George Coleman and Michael Brecker. The world of saxophone has so much history to it. How do you go about thinking about finding your own voice with there's so much history there, um, and being yourself? Can you talk a little bit about that a little more?
Yeah, well, I really don't think about finding myself. I just play. And then, sometimes I feel like I am finding myself. Sometimes I think I'm not, and then when I'm working on new content, so to speak, sometimes what I don't like about myself, sometimes I try to force it. You know what I mean? And that's when I run into trouble, So that's what I mean. I just let it through. And I don't think about I'm gonna be this or that. I really don't. I just try to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You
Yeah, no,
know,
no.
and then, whenever they fall, how it falls, it falls. What are you gonna do?
Mhm.
You know, some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah.
You know,
But you still you sound as just as enthusiastic about the music as you ever will. You know what I mean? It's always there. It
that's
can't
right.
because when musicians are when they've been doing this for a long time, I'm sure you've encountered some musicians that are maybe a little dark
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah. Many.
cranky.
Oh, many. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. To me, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, what's that about? We're doing what we love, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're complaining about gigs, probably. Why didn't why didn't he hire me? Because he hired his nephew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the same in the business world too. Yeah, it's all the
Exact
same, really.
nepotism.
It is the same, man. I had a friend who was a drummer, and we used to play with him a lot in Queens, right? He lived in Queens. And like he said, hell with this, he became a lawyer. And it was the same thing. When he became a lawyer, he like, he wasn't doing, he was like, in the background. He was carrying the mail or something in the
In
front.
the
Now
mailroom.
now he has his own firm. He went up the ladder. It's just like playing.
Yeah. So
You know.
when it comes to performing, um, do you still find certain aspects of it challenging, or is it home for you? I tend to, speak with musicians, and some people say, "No, it's where I'm comfortable." But do you still think there are components of it that are challenging?
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah! Every day.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. The music that you're playing is challenging, and then when you're as improvisers, of course that's challenging from the get-go.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's always going
Yeah,
to be hard to play all the
yeah,
things you are.
yeah. I know. Or the blues, all the things. I agree. I say that all the time. All the blues. Just play the blues. It's easy. I said, what? It's not easy to me.
The blues is like the hardest thing to play.
I know. It's incredible. And, if you want to get, you know, to a level, you just want to go da, 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 then yeah, that's fun. See you later. Yeah,
No, I love what you're saying. I mean, it's just pure honesty. It's hard to even just play those standards and play the blues,
I know.
and it's a process. When you think about improvisation, there are certain components people think there's a spiritual side to it. Obviously, it's technical, and
Mhm.
there is that emotional part you want to convey. But is there a part that's spiritual for you when you play?
Sure. Yeah. That starts with the beat. When the
Mm.
beat starts and it's cool, that's when it really I get this feeling, that I want to do. I guess that's a spiritual part. I want to, I'm all in. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, if you had gigs like where you heard the first note come out of the band, and you're like, this is not going to be a good night, like
yeah.
just
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Not lately, but yeah.
yeah.
Oh, during the years, sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For musicians who feel that way in the moment, like right away, like it just doesn't feel good. Do you have any words of wisdom you could offer them to overcome that?
Well, I just try to be a bull in a china shop.
Try to be a what?
A bull in a china shop.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
know, really. And and I thought maybe I was being too aggressive, but a lot of these gigs that I played like that back, 20 years ago, whatever, like I remember a lot of guys said, "Man, thank you." They thanked me. Said, because in other words, instead of like just falling down and going with them and whatever that means. But I just went straight and played, and then they had to, come up straight, like especially the drummers, because some drummers you start playing and I want to turn around and say, are we going to stop? It gets so slow,
Yeah.
I just keep going, and then they have to keep up. So, and then I'm telling you, I've got a lot of thank yous,
Yeah.
and I thought
Uh,
it would be the opposite.
I'm kind of curious too. Thinking back on your journey, is there a skill or a concept that you learned that you look at completely differently now?
Yeah, probably practicing. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Just like so probably practicing. I changed, in a way of like I'm more disciplined now. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. I used to start playing tunes and instead of like going through the, like this not, I mean, I don't go through scales, da 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 da, but I do work on things like inside the change, inside the chord, and work on specific things, then I'll
Mhm.
go play.
Is it important for a musician to develop their own way of practicing or kind of stick like, oh, like all the greats do this? And I mean, obviously you have to play on the changes and stuff, but
Yeah.
do you think it's important that they find their own routine in a sense?
Well, I think they should start with this mechanics, then they could go into that.
Hmm.
In other words, yeah, just start, be disciplined with, even though it might even be boring sometimes, see, that's another thing. I learned that it wasn't boring. At first, I thought it was. Then when I started getting into it, I said, this is not boring, like I thought it was, because you get real meticulous with things, even from D to E. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You thought that, that was like so easy, but now it's not. I mean, not that it's not that it's hard, but I hear different things there now that I'm not doing or that I should be doing or that I am doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are you still teaching at NYU?
No, no,
No.
I was done with that in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You were
Yeah.
there for a while, I know.
Oh, 29 years. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the department's changed
Yeah.
as well. It's in a different building than when I was there. But
Mhm.
Purchase is if people want to study with you on the collegiate level, that's where they should apply to go to school.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And they want to purchase as a school of playing. You play. They have a lot of ensembles, small, big Latin thing, Latin big bands, jazz big band, a lot of small groups, a lot of them, and then people like to play and they play on their own too. We encourage it, of course,
Right.
you
Well,
know.
we're just starting the new year. So what's coming up this year for you that you're looking forward to musically or personally? Anything exciting you could share with us?
Yeah, well, let me think. I think we're going to do another record with the band. We're going to do another CD with, Paul McNeely.
Hmm.
We have a week there in February at the Vanguard, a whole week, 8 days to be exact. And then I'm going to Boston in February. You know, I can't remember everything. I
Well, it's
write
going to
things
be
down.
cold. That's going to be super cold.
I know Boston. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
hope you got a good jacket.
yeah. I do actually. I do. Well, I won't. I don't want to bore you with the story, but no, I'm gonna bore you with the story. I went, I'm from Pittsburgh, right? And then like a long, it was about a couple of years ago. I went to the mall in July. I went to the mall because I want to buy me a jacket, especially walking through Manhattan with all the wind and stuff. I want to buy me a coat or jacket that's going to keep me warm. I mean, 'cause I never really had a thing that was really warm. So I
Yeah.
went to the mall near Pittsburgh, and I saw this jacket there, and it said $500 now 250. So I tried it, and I like it. This is going to be warm, man. So I went to the guy and I paid for it. I was going to pay for it. The guy went, on the computer. Blah, blah, blah. He said that'll be 29.99. I said,
Oh,
what? I'll take it.
yeah.
Dig that? It went from $500 to $29.99.
Yeah. Was that like a computer error, you think, or just
No, it wasn't.
marketing?
No, that's just because my wife was with me, and I kind of nudged her because she was going to say, "Oh, well, I don't think, it's, and I went like that, and then she didn't say anything. But then he did it. I don't know. I guess he did it twice for some reason, and then about 29.99.
One time I went to a restaurant and my bill wasn't that much money, and the server changed like my bill with another tables who was more expensive. So they paid my bill
Yeah,
and they like fled the scene. And
yeah,
and I'm like, I'm not paying for this. So the server got in trouble, but the other people should have been. It's kind of
yeah,
similar, I thought. But
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. Ralph, this is such a pleasure to talk with you and hear, all of your stories, and they are truly words of wisdom, and I'm sure everyone who's listening to this podcast is gonna certainly benefit from it. So, just want to say
Yeah,
thank you
my
so much
pleasure.
for doing it.
And thank you for asking, man. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
my pleasure.
yeah. Were you playing?
Well, I'm mostly Jersey, New
Oh yeah.
England.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had a regular gig in Manhattan for like 3 years on Sundays, but now I'm a lot of Jersey stuff right now. The city's kind of harder to, you
Yeah.
know, than it's a little bit harder to play in than it maybe was before the pandemic. At least I think so.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's hard. I'm
Yeah,
still working on it too. Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
but Jersey's my home, so but it's right
Yeah.
over the bridge. So
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Now you
awesome.
gotta pay $9 too.
Exactly.
Jeez. I know.